Jennings's poem Father to Son expresses the difficulties that crop up in a father's relationship with his son as the son becomes an adult. The father finds it challenging to understand his son now that his son has grown up. There seems to be a wide gap between the two people. Welcome back to Quick Poetry Knowledge, friends. This is Mehjabin, and in today's video I am going to explain the poem Father to Son composed by the English poet Elizabeth Jennings. I do not understand this child, though we have lived together now in the same house for years. I know nothing of him, so try to build up a relationship from how he was when small. Yet have I killed. So this is what the father is saying about his relationship with his son. He says that he cannot understand his child, though they have been living together now in the same house for years. The son has grown into an adult, and so the likes and preferences of the son are something which are beyond the comprehension of the father. There is a big communication gap between the two. I know nothing of him, so the son appears to be like a stranger to the father. So try to build up a relationship from how he was when small. So now the father is trying to build up a relationship with his son from scratch, right from the time when his son was small. At that time, the father had taken care of his son in a particular way, and now he is trying to go back to those past times and see if he can take care of his son in a new way now. Yet have I killed. Now the father says that he cannot understand his son even though they have spent long years together living in the same house. The father feels that his son is a complete stranger to him. He does not have any idea about the likes and dislikes of his child. So he is trying to work on his relationship with his son. He is making an effort to take care of his son like he did when his son was a small child. The seed I spent or sown it where the land is his and none of mine. We speak like strangers, there's no sign of understanding in the air. This child is built to my design, yet what he loves I cannot share. So the father is saying that he had spent his entire life in trying to groom a seed. He had sown the seed. The land is his and none of mine. And the land that he shares with his son, the father himself feels like a stranger in that land. He feels as though the land does not belong to him. We speak like strangers. They have become like strangers. They hardly have anything common to talk about. There is no sign of understanding in the air. It appears as though the son cannot understand his father, and neither can the father understand his son. This child is built to my design. The father had raised his son according to his own wishes, according to his own desires. Yet what he loves I cannot share. But today the father has reached a point of time when he cannot understand, he cannot comprehend what his son actually wants from life. Yet the father feels that he had killed a seed that he had spent years taking care of. The efforts that he had taken as a father to raise his son seems to have gone to waste. The father feels unacknowledged in the space that he shares with his son. He also feels as though the house they live together in belongs to the son only, and that it does not belong to him any longer. They speak to each other like strangers do. There is no clue of understanding between the father and the son. Silence surrounds us. I would have him prodigal, returning to his father's house, the home he knew, rather than see him make and move his world. I would forgive him too, shaping from sorrow a new love. So the father says that silence hangs between them. They hardly have anything to talk about. I would have him prodigal. I would wish that my son becomes a spendthrift, that he spends money recklessly in an extravagant way, so that he loses all his money and then returns to his father's home for shelter, comfort, and protection. I would have him prodigal, returning to his father's house, the home he knew, rather than see him make and move his world. So instead of seeing his son spreading his own wings, building his own home in a different locality, in a different town, the father would want his son to return to his childhood home, to return to his home that he had shared with his father. And when the son came back to his father after making all his mistakes, after all the unpleasant things that he had done in the past, I would forgive him too. The father would forgive his son, shaping from sorrow a new love. And from the pain in his heart, he would train his heart to love in his son in a new way, to love his son from scratch, to love his son afresh. The father and the son hardly exchanges a word. Silence hangs between the two. The father wishes that his son would spend his money in a reckless and extravagant way and then eventually return to his father's home for shelter. Instead of seeing his son spread his wings and building his own space and home, the father wants his son to return to his father's home. The father is ready to forgive his son for all his mistakes, and from the pain that exists in his heart, he would learn to love his son in a new way. Now we come to the last stanza of this poem. Father and son, we both must live on the same globe and the same land. He speaks, I cannot understand. I cannot understand myself why anger grows from grief. We each put out an empty hand, longing for something to forgive. So the father and the son, they both live under the same roof. We both must live on the same globe, and they have to live on the same earth, on the same planet, and on the same land. He speaks, the son speaks to the father, but the father cannot understand what his son says. I cannot understand myself, and as a result, the father cannot understand his own self. That being a father, why is it not possible for him to understand his son? This is something which confuses the father, and at the same time he becomes angry, he becomes frustrated with his own self. I cannot understand myself why anger grows from grief, why he is angry because of his sadness. We each put out an empty hand. Both the father and the son try to repair the damage that had been done in their relationship. They each try to extend a hand to the other, a hand that would express how each one of them each is forgiving the other. We each put out an empty hand, longing for something to forgive. But forgiving is not very easy. Healing is not easy. It's going to take them a long time to fully heal each other, forgive each other, and accept each other like they had done in the past when the son was a small child. In the concluding stanza of the poem, the father reflects that as father and son both have to live together in the same space, however, despite being physically so close, mentally and spiritually they are miles apart. As a result, the father cannot understand what his son says, what his dreams and wishes are. At the same time, the father is both confused and angry as he is sad and heartbroken. Even the son seems to be sad. Both extend their empty hands towards each other. Both seem to want to forgive each other and start their relationship afresh. With these words, I come to the end of this poem. I will be uploading some important questions and answers related to this video. Consider subscribing to this channel, and bye.